Welcome to the Hoporenkv Native American Podcast, where we discuss focused topics within tribal housing and self-determination. I'm Brooke Warrington, the Training and Development Specialist here at the Seminole Tribe of Florida Native Learning Center, and here with me is our Training and Development Coordinator, Brianna Birch. Today's podcast features our special guest, Thelma McDermott. She is a member of the Muskogee Nation of Oklahoma, and she's the Employment and Training Intake Coordinator at the Florida Governor's Council on Indian Affairs. So Thelma, thank you so much for joining us today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And I know we brought you on today to talk about the Florida Indian Youth Program, so maybe talk to us a little bit kind of about the program in general and your work at the Florida Governor's Council on Indian Affairs.
Yes, so I am the Employment and Training Intake Coordinator. Basically, I handle all client relations and employment affairs with each client or participant, we call them participants in the program. And I essentially help them with their applications within the program and also assist with the Florida Indian Youth Program. So the Florida Indian Youth Program is a step up to the Employment and Training Program within this organization.
Okay, perfect. And can you tell us a little bit about what the primary objectives of the Florida Indian Youth Program and what outcomes do you most hope to see among participants?
Yes, so the Florida Indian Youth Program is, as I stated before, is an introduction into the employment and training program. So essentially, we are providing STEM classes and financial literacy, which Native Learning Center has been gracious enough to assist us with that throughout the years, which has been wonderful. And we really appreciate our relationship with the Native Learning Center. But we also do culture classes and, anything to introduce the students to potential employment and, just kind of gear them to think beyond high school. And so when you're a freshman in high school, I know you're not thinking about what you're going to do as an adult. I wasn't when I was 14 years old. So we want to actually get them started in thinking about their life beyond high school and giving them options and introducing them to career fields that they may not have even know existed and just kind of broadening their horizons, so to speak. And essentially the employment training program is the next level or step from the Florida Indian Youth Program. So we assist those who are beyond high school and wanting to go into college, to any training and certifications, anything of that nature. So that's essentially, it's a building block to the employment and training program within the Florida Governor's Council.
That's such a cool opportunity for them. I'm the same way. When I was 14, I wasn't thinking about anything past lunchtime, I don't think.
Right.
But that's an amazing opportunity, especially to kind of be able to be exposed to those different options, especially when some of them, like, you might not even realize that you would have been into until you have that experience. Who's eligible to take part in the Florida Indian Youth Program, and how would they apply to be a part of it?
Okay, so we open the applications up early in the year. So for the 26-27 program, it would open up in early February of 26, and you are eligible, 14 to 19-year-olds are eligible for the program. And we say up to 19 because, not everybody is completed with high school credits by the time they're 18. So, we kind of give them that little gap year to be introduced to other programs that they may not have even considered beyond high school. So that age range, 14 to 19, you have to be 14 by the date of July 1st of the year. So, if they're 13 in May, they're going to turn 14 before July 1st, they're still eligible to apply to the program. And again, that's to kind of capture that age range where they're not sure what they're going to do. I don't know that many students have the opportunity for summer employment. So this will actually help them, give them tools and measurable skills to actually consider beyond high school. And that's what the program is for.
Okay, perfect. It definitely sounds like a great opportunity for them. You did mention that you do, broaden their horizons regarding subjects regarding STEM and things like that. But can you share how the program benefits its participants academically, culturally, and socially as well?
Yes, so I will, for example, this past program year that just completed in July, we actually offered OSHA training for those students, and they were able to attain the OSHA credential, which was a 10-hour course training. But each student that was in the program and completed through the 2 weeks received OSHA certification. Now, I know that most high school students are, what does that even mean? What is that? How do I apply that to my life? How's this going to help me in high school? And again, this is just this is a measurable skill that they have attained, that they can go into the workforce and say, hey, I do have this certification. I can apply it here. In this particular job that I may be applying for. Again, we're gearing them up to think about themselves beyond high school and becoming a working, productive adult and becoming self-sufficient within society. So it's really broad in a sense that you're starting out very small, high school student. You're like, I'm just going in as a freshman. I don't know. I don't think about beyond high school. I just want to get through today. Like we mentioned earlier, I don't think beyond lunch, and also, so you asked about social skills too. You're grouping 10 to 15 complete strangers for 2 weeks, and there's challenges involved, and everybody is coming from different socioeconomic classes, and you kind of just meld these students together and giving them the opportunity to learn about other tribes. Because I will say, for example, this past year we had 13 tribes represented in the program. That's among students and staff, which was great. 13, I know that's small numbers compared to how many tribes we actually have in the United States, but it's a start. And, we're getting to have them share their culture and share part of their identity with the rest of the group, and opening their eyes up to the world. There's much bigger opportunities out there for you, especially coming from reservations. I grew up on a reservation. I will tell you, I didn't think of it as a reservation because we were so spread out. Growing up, it wasn't until, I don't know, the McGirt decision a couple of years ago that everybody was like, oh my God, I did grow up on a reservation, because without, just a steering away from politics, we are one in a community, and we're all hopefully building each other up and supporting each other and showing and supporting them and allowing them to expand themselves and provide for their families as they grow and get into the workforce and become productive adults. And I think that's essentially what all of us want for these students. And, us giving them the opportunity to explore different avenues within this culture outside of Native culture, working in a school, learning, we're all here speaking the English when all of these tribes have their own language. So I think that's really important to allow them to connect personally with themselves, but also to realize that they're kind of a bigger component in the tapestry that they may not even consider, that their part and their contribution they may think is so small, but I want them to know that what they do does make a difference, and it does, add to society. And I think that's the main goal of our program as for the Florida Indian Youth Program. And then again, that's just a stepping stone into employment and training. I hope I didn't steer too far from the basics of the program.
No, you didn't. But just thinking like a parent, for me, is it a program where the parents have to come and drop them off every day, or is it something where you give them room and board, or?
No, so we do provide room and board for the 2 weeks that they are with us.
Okay.
So, and we do provide counselors for the their entire stay. The parents are invited at the end to attend our banquet, and we provide a video for them to view, to show them what their student has been partaking in the 2 week. So that gives them a little bit of peace of mind that, okay, yeah, my kid was supervised. And because again, there are challenges and there are, I don't want to say conflicts, but you just never know. And for us to be able to bring these students together and to, number one, return them safely to their family, that's our number one goal. But we also want to provide a safe environment for them to learn and to explore and consider things beyond their high school, because we're hopefully providing tools that actually expand on what they actually learn in high school, but also broaden their mindset to not just limiting what I sit in and listen to in English class for 9 months out of the year. So I think that's something that most of the parents would hopefully say that that's something that a lot of the return students are engaged in. And, I think that says a lot for the students that want to return, because they're like, oh, I get to, number one, probably hang out with my friends. Number two, I am learning something, and that I do have some takeaways from this program. So, yes.
What a beautiful sentiment. I really loved talking about how not even realizing like the way they fit into this tapestry. That's so beautiful. I wanted to ask, so you've mentioned staff, you've mentioned counselors. Are the folks working the program, is it exclusively employees of the Florida Governor's Council on Indian Affairs, or is there anybody else involved? Like who are the counselors?
So the counselors are people that we've contracted to be just with the students for that particular time. And because we're such a small staff throughout the year, we have 4 full-time employees with Florida Governor's Council. So yeah, we do contract with the counselors. And I'm thankful to say that we've had teachers that have been counselors with the program, and just other cultural teachers within different Native nations. So that's like very important to the program to keep it, culturally sound, but also kind of workable where, we're not so hardened to, oh, we only want this type of person working with our students, because, you just never know. You are, again, bringing students from different nations, different home settings. It takes work, and it takes time to build that relationship and that rapport among students, especially with teenagers. That's not always an easy age range, and specifically for them, because they're going through so many things, so many changes. We hope that they're looking beyond high school, and I hope we're not scaring them to think, oh God, I don't know if I want to move out of my house or do this for myself. And, I think that that's just something that working with a program as delicate as it can be, but also I don't want it to be something that becomes so fragile that we can't work through it. You know what I mean? So it's not an easy task, but we're working at it. And we do try to keep the curriculum fresh, because we do have a lot of repeat students, and I want them to again expand on whatever it is that they are interested in. And I think this program really reached out on that, because we did construction work. I know that sounds, how do you get a 14-year-old girl engaged in that? And, because they're probably like, well, I'm not going to be drywalling my house. Well, you never know, so we did have an instructor that he was the one that provided the OSHA training, and it was astounding. He worked that into the program, where he did have the working with tools, like pipe fitting, and what do you call it? I don't even know these tools. I was like, man, I wish I could sit in the class. It was like they were using hammers and a nail gun, and different things, different tools like that. And all of these girls completed their projects, and then he allowed them to paint whatever they wanted on these projects after. So they learned how to apply drywall, and that's what they painted on after that. They were essentially building their canvas. So it was wonderful to see that. And I was like, if I were exposed to something like that at their age, I think my mind would have been blown. And then I would have been able to think beyond what I was thinking at that time as a 14-year-old girl. And don't even get me started about being 16 years old. So, I think it was wonderful for these girls and the students in general, all of them.
So maybe I'm a different type of girly, but when you said construction, I got excited. I'm a DIY girl. I can do it myself. If I can learn how to cut boards, saw, anything, I would be so excited. But it sounds like that's an exciting portion of the program. But leading into that, what are some new focuses in the program or kind of exciting new additions that you may have regarding the curriculum?
Well, again, as I stated earlier, OSHA, that was new. So that was the first time we've ever provided that training to our students. So the OSHA training this program year, or this Florida Indian Youth Program 2025, that was the first year that they had actually taken away an actual certification. And it was in construction, and I don't know the specifics, but they did get a OSHA certification for that. And to be a 15-year-old with the OSHA certification, I think that was just wonderful. So that was one of the changes. I think next year their goal is, because OSHA, and forgive me, but I'm not completely familiar as far as what OSHA certifications industry-wide, industry-based, but I think the one they're offering next year will be it's more broad. It's not just focused on construction alone. So that's good, because again, that's a measurable skill. That's something that they can actually apply and put on a resume at that age. And I don't think that they realize the takeaway that they're getting from that, because they are probably a step ahead of most 18-year-olds at that point. So I think that's something that they should be very proud of, because they did have to present what they knew and what they learned, and they're probably gonna one day be asked a question and be surprised that they know the answer to those questions, especially going into the workforce, especially nowadays. You just never know. And I feel like, because me growing up, I was in like JTPA, which was WIOA. It was like the 90s program of what WIOA is today. And I didn't realize those skills that I was learning in my summer job was how I was going to apply that to the things I do today. So it really provides them with skills and training that I don't think they realize is applicable to them today. And it probably isn't, going to high school and in their everyday life, but they're going to be able to look back on this and apply what they've learned in the summer program or in the Florida Indian Youth Program during the summer for the 2 weeks. 2 weeks is enough time for them to really kind of, what do you say, or how would you say that? I don't think 2 weeks hits them like it does now. Because they're like, oh, it was just 2 weeks of my life. I just sat in and cut a little copper pipe, no big deal. But when you're my age and beyond, you're like, oh my goodness, those 2 weeks really impacted my life, and it really did make a difference in how I saw myself and my ability. And I hope that's the greatest takeaway, is that they see that they are so much more capable than what they even imagine at that point. Because, if you're not exposed to something, you're not given the opportunity to learn, then you kind of feel like stunted, or, you start questioning, like, man, I sat in school for 4 years and it did not prepare me for my first day at college, when my mom's not sitting right next to me and I got to fill out this application, or I got to do this, or I got to speak for myself, and I think that's something that I hope the takeaway for the students is that they realize, oh, I was given the opportunity that other students weren't given, and I am going to utilize those skills that I learned and, brush up on my soft skills. And that's another thing too. I think the students don't realize how important those are, because when I was 18, soft skills, I was like, what does that mean? And then you start learning like the intricate part of employment and speaking for yourself and you communicating with others and just learning all of those little steps that they don't consider in high school that gets them to the next level, to that next step. And if it's not college, trade school, because they're really pushing the trade schools within Department of Labor now, there's a shortage of all of those trades, welders, mechanics, and, heavy equipment operators and things like that, things that most students don't consider. Everybody wants to be an influencer or, I think everybody starts eyeballing the bottom line and like, oh, I want to do this so I can make money. And I think you also move away from the passion too, because, you could be making a lot of money or whatever it is you do follow, but does it make you happy? And, I don't know if that's something that students consider in high school. I know I didn't. So, yeah.
No, it really is amazing because for most, like, unless you end up in like a magnet school where those classes are offered, or like you maybe have a family member who does that work, like you don't always get exposed to those vocational skills, like you said. And honestly, like, when, teenagers are considering the bottom line, like that is the fastest way to get there. Back when I was still a high school teacher, I remember like my proudest moment was when a student came back to visit me like 2 years after he graduated, and he had gone through an electrician program.
Oh, wow.
And came and showed me his first paycheck, and he already made more money than me. And I was like,
Oh, wow.
I got so emotional because it was just like, I'm so proud of you. Oh my God. But, when you have those skills that are so valuable because so few people have them, like, it really does pave the way to a successful future, even if it's not like flashy influencer kind of thing, but more just, steady, needed skills, whether that be something like electrician or what was it called? Soldering pipe. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I mean, again, like, but I have a little bit of knowledge of those things, but my passion was in biology. So I loved sitting in a lab. So for me to be where I'm at now, I'm like, oh man, like we veered off so far from what I wanted to do, but it works for me now, and again, I think, allowing those students to find that for themselves, because, we all want to be a part of that and have that for ourselves and to be able to share it, and I think, especially coming from the Native community, sometimes, well, this is my experience, you don't always get that support because I think it feels like the bigger picture isn't viewed in the sense that, oh, well, what you're doing is important, what you are doing is needed. And I think that kind of deters students from exploring certain parts of themselves and certain interests. And I think this program allows them to do that, even if it's just for that short period of time, that allows them to break away from, what is, even in the high school setting, they're basically sitting there to pass a test. Like, you have to pass this test in order to advance. And, for me, I growing up, I remember seeing students just not able to get over that hump. And I think that just kind of discourages them and causes a setback, because if you already feel defeated, you're not going to want to explore beyond what you've known. And I hope that this program allows them that little bit of time to do that for themselves, to explore beyond what they're, oh, you have to get an A in English, you have to do this, you have to do that. And, that's not always conducive to success for students, especially it may even stunt them. And I hope that that's something that this will help them get over that hump and move beyond those challenges. But yeah.
I'm so glad that you shared your experience with being in love with biology, but also now currently doing something else. And I think that a lot of times parents don't have that conversation with their children. And a lot of times younger adults don't get to experience or understand that you can fall in love with multiple things, and you can also explore other different paths. I think it's always, are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? Are you going to, but it's very important to have the skills that your program offers, but also allowing them to explore multiple paths. But with that, what kind of long-term impact does the Florida Indian Youth Program have on students' paths? And do most continue on to higher education, or do you think they continue on to vocational training or like careers in public service or community leadership?
Well, I'm happy to say that since I've been with the program, we've had students that have continued on directly after finishing the Florida Indian Youth Program. They complete the process to move into the employment and training program. I have a few students I have a few in mind that I remember. We had one student go right into college who actually just completed their bachelor's degree from St. Thomas University. And we had another student who is in his fourth semester in a welding program. So, we've hit both in the trades and into college, attaining a bachelor's degree. So again, this program has expanded those students' experience and allowed them to, and we provide financial assistance beyond the Florida Indian Youth Program and the Employment and Training Program. So that is kind of like this Florida Indian Youth Program is a segue into the Employment and Training Program. And we are so happy when the students take advantage of that and, working into their dreams and goals beyond high school. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from the Florida Indian Youth Program is for them to, number one, take advantage of the financial assistance that we provide in the Employment and Training Program and get them to. Now, of course, we do have our obligations to our funding source, which is Department of Labor. However, I don't want the student to look at it as that's the only reason why we do it, because having our students succeed for themselves is, for me, the best part of the program. I can say, I can put you down. You're just, I have to report on each student after the program, but to know what they did with what was provided to them and how they're applying that to their life and successful at it is an award in itself. So, or a reward, I guess you would say. But I think the students would say that that's something that hopefully they were able to explore, starting with the Florida Indian Youth Program, then rolling over into the employment training and then learning for themselves how they wanted to expound on their life and how they wanted to be able to provide for themselves. And that's the whole goal of the program, is promoting the self-sufficiency of those that participate in the program. And, self-sufficiency could mean so many things to different people, so I hope that that's something that they explore and want to share. I ask students, hey, if you're in school and you want to reach out and let students know, hey, I'm Native and this is what I'm, attending, how I'm attending here, and they provide assistance. And then we also provide other scholarship information to our students as well, because there's so much out there available to students. And I think that if I had more exposure, I think I would have went into college much sooner than I actually did, because coming out of high school, I was like, I don't have money for college. And I knew my parents didn't have money. So I went into the military directly out of high school. And I did my first enlistment. And then I was like, oh, this isn't for me. I got out and then went right into the workforce. And then I decided this isn't for me either. I want to go back to school. So that's what I did. And, I think if I had a little bit more direction in high school, I think I would have worked the matrix a little bit differently. So hopefully we're allowing those students to explore those options for themselves, and and to say, it is okay to explore and figure these things out and learn. There's nothing greater than learning for yourself and then applying that for yourself, and keeping in mind that you do have a community behind you. And I think that's something that as Native people, that's something that really, really hits home, because being able to go out, explore, and then come back and share what you've learned, it does build up the community, and it allows these students to have pride in that. I don't think there's anything wrong with learning and sharing what you've learned with your community members. And sometimes I feel compelled to tell the students, it's not who you know, it is what you know, and it is what you can share and what you can provide for other students to step up with and go beyond your boundaries if that's something they want to explore.
No, that's amazing. And your passion absolutely speaks for itself. You can tell you believe in this program, how it can benefit them, that idea of giving them the chance to just kind of, I don't know if like play is the right word, but almost like to explore and play and like experiment and, kind of just test out what they like in a situation where they might not otherwise be exposed to it. It really is just incredible, the opportunity that they have. I wanted to ask, do you have any advice that you would give to folks in other states who would hope to kind of develop a program similar to what y'all have going on?
Well, I think the first thing would be to actually learn who you are, your target audience, because high school students, that is, that can be a broad subject itself, and I think especially for reservations that are a little bit more remote. I mean, because we're in Tallahassee, Florida, so we have students that come from South Florida all the way up here. That's a 7-hour trip. And I think, again, learning your target audience, rural areas, rural reservations, that's not always an easy task. And I hope that having that's such a small audience will help you expand on what they're exposed to. Learning the target audience is number one, because I can't say that a program that we have developed here can necessarily work in, I don't know, rural Oklahoma. I can say that because I grew up in Oklahoma, and I'm not, we have FAMU here, we have Tallahassee State College here, we have Florida State University. We actually worked with Florida State University. We provided a trip to their coastal and marine lab for our students this year. This was the second year of us doing it. Last year, the students really seemed to enjoy it because we took them out on the boat and learned about sea life out there. And then we had to like break up the group. But this year we were able to take the group out all together, and they got to go to like a sandbar. And again, that's not something that you can do in rural Oklahoma. So again, it's learning your target audience and learning from the resources that you have around you. So I'm just thinking Oklahoma, there's Oklahoma University, Oklahoma State University, Tulsa University, and just building a rapport with them, connecting with those agencies to work together and learn, what they can provide and kind of supplement the things that you want to do for your program. It really is about building relationships. So it is learning your target audience, building those relationships at the simultaneously with the resources around you. And then you play with the curriculum, because again, as our program, we do have regulations that we have to follow. So, consider that as well, what you are able to provide. And I know that, for instance, my tribe, Muskogee Nation, has a similar program to ours. Although they may run their program differently, I know that they do have summer youth employment. And I want to say, I remember seeing something recently that they advertised for oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I can't remember of what it is specifically, but it was employment based, which is the whole, again, getting these students into the workforce and becoming self-sufficient. So learning your target audience, utilizing the resources around you, and also building that rapport with those agencies to build a program. So I don't want to say such as ours, but build a program that caters to your target audience. So I think that's something that programs, most of them, I would say those on the reservation have a good foundation for that already. And I would just say maybe opening those doors to those students, maybe getting the word out there that, hey, we're here, we're available. Maybe gathering ideas from your target audience. We don't know the needs of each and every student that comes into our program, and asking them what it is that we could provide that would be most helpful to them, that would definitely help. And, I think that's a good starting point, is learning your target audience, utilizing the resources around you, and then asking it essentially a needs assessment from the community, what these students need. Again, because you can't speak for everybody, and you have to realize too, you're not always going to meet those needs of everybody. I think generalizing the program, and again, just providing that safe space for them to explore that part for themselves is a big component of that.
Amazing. And just right quick before we get ready to wrap up, because I always have to play advocate. I know that you said that it's a program where, they come and they stay there for 2 weeks. But let's say I'm a 15-year-old, I'm 15, I'm trying to convince my parents to allow me to attend the program. First, I know my mom is going to ask, where do I go to apply? What exactly are you expecting for these students to bring with them? Are you offering, how does the meal things go? And also, how do you make sure that you are keeping them safe in this environment? Or like, what type of safety measures do you have set up in place for them over the 2 weeks? And just what should they expect when they're going there?
Okay, to apply for the program, I think I spoke on it briefly early on. So we opened the applications in February, so early part of the year. And then, of course, we have a deadline, but the application itself is pretty lengthy. It's a 9-page application. So we provide a checklist, because there are some certain things that we have to provide to Department of Labor, who is our funding source. But that 9-page application, we try to get a good feel of the student. We, basic information, general demographic information, and then we get more personalized. So we do have to ask about their medical history, because we are with them 24/7, and we do have to ensure that any medications that are necessary are provided by the students and can cover for the time period, and any other needs that the student may have. So it is essential for the parents to be able to share that with us. And that's basically for the well-being of the student. It's not that we're trying to pry into, but, we do want to ensure that we are attentive to the student and providing the care that they need, if necessary. And then we also ask them to provide an essay or a couple of essays, just to get a feel of the student, to also see if they are not capable, if they're willing to learn and stay because if this is your first time away from home, it could be difficult for you to get through the first week. And again, we want to ensure that they're safe, they're sound, and they do learn. And if you're not comfortable, if you're just anxious about it, you're not going to want to stay. So we try to get them to get comfortable and communicating with us and their counselors. We provide counselors that are available to them 24/7, and we do room checks and things like that to ensure that we do have rules and regulations, and then we also go through an orientation with them at the start of the program. We hold a meeting with the parents prior to them coming, because a lot of times the parents allow them to ride the bus up. So once they're on the bus with us, they're in our care. So we want to have meetings, and all of the parents the counselors are given the parents information, and they're allowed to communicate directly with the counselor for their student. So we break it up so each counselor has communication with their particular student's family. And we also provide the information for our executive director and the lead counselor for the entire 2 weeks. And again, we have that meeting with the parents, and then we hold orientation with the students the day of or the next morning after they arrive, because after a 7-hour bus ride, you just want to get to your room and chill out. So we allow them to do that. But then this year we had to change it up a little bit for orientation, but again, we've had some seasoned students, so they understood the program, and just working through all of that and allowing the student to take it all in and learn. And we go over the rules and regulations, and we allow them to keep update their parents daily. There's nothing, we don't try to cut communication off aside from being in class. During class time, we ask them, they put their phones away and they're learning, because they're doing a lot of hands-on projects, so that's something that they've got to consider. And then again, we had somebody OSHA certified, so he was there teaching all the students. And we have other certified teachers with the students during the day. And then the counselors are all number one with them at all times. We escort them whenever we're moving around in different places, going to field trips, things like that. And then the students are pretty much kept in the same area throughout the program, aside from us taking them to different educational venues. So, I would encourage the students to reach out to other students to ask them questions about the program, because most of the students are that the new ones that come in are students that knew somebody else that was in the program. So it's kind of like hearsay, but we do our best to keep communication with the parents. Oftentimes the students keep them up to date, and we allow the phone with them all the time, so that aside from classroom time. So I don't know that there's any other, a lot of it is communication with the parents. So like, again, the application is 9 pages long. So we ask them to provide as much information on their student as they can. And again, that's just to ensure that the student their well-being is, number one. And, we're provided, they may have medications, things like that, like I stated earlier. And again, that's just keeping that rapport with the parents and them providing information on their student, because they know their student. Hopefully, they're able to provide that safety net beyond coming to the program, because we rely on what they provide to us to ensure that their student is well taken care of and their well-being is number one priority. So that's why that 9-page application is put out there. I know sometimes I have students, they'll click, because I get notification. So when it's up on the website, I try to announce that on the website, and they announce it on the Facebook page that the applications are being accepted. I think, and I'll reach out to different organizations to let them know that the applications are available, but it's on our website usually at the beginning of the year. So for next year, it would be in February when the application for the 26th Florida Indian Youth Program will be available.
So yeah,
I think that was a long-winded way of saying the application's online.
It's on the website.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they want to go look at the website, I can send you the link to the website, and they can just click on the tabs. But specifically, if they're looking for information on the Florida Indian Youth Program, they would just toggle over the youth program tab, and go right to Florida Indian Youth Program.
Perfect. That's so amazing. It sounds like you guys have definitely put a lot of thought into this program, and definitely making sure that you have your safety measures put in place. Brooke, did you have any more questions?
No, just want to thank Thelma for joining us today. This was absolutely amazing. Like I said before, your passion speaks for itself. It's going to leap off the recording. It's going to be right there in the video. Like, and I don't know, it's just, it's amazing. And like I said, I used to be a high school teacher, so it especially, pulls on my heartstrings to, know that teenagers are getting that chance to explore freely, discover their passions, be exposed to different things that they might not otherwise, and have a little time to bond with other teenagers that maybe, you don't go to school with and you might not get to meet otherwise too. So thank you so much for this incredible program that you're a part of. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today and talking with us about it. This has really been amazing.
Well, I appreciate you all having me. Thank you.
Yes, Thelma, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everyone that has listened. The Florida Indian Youth Program is more than just a summer initiative. It's definitely, it sounds like it's a powerful stepping stone for the Native youth to discover, their potential, connect with their heritage, and also build a strong future in education, leadership, and beyond. But programs like the Florida Indian Youth Program definitely remind us how vital it is to invest in, younger voices and empower the next generation. We can't wait to see what's next for you guys. And until then, you guys, we hope that you all stay inspired, stay involved, and keep uplifting each other. As always, thank you so much for listening to the Hoporenkv Native American Podcast. If you enjoy our show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Please also visit our website, nativelearningcenter.com, to find information on upcoming webinars and trainings. And also feel free to contact our website with any episode ideas that you may have or that you would be interested in us exploring. Thank you again so much, Thelma.